We look to get coming up right now at 5:30.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. State police have made an arrest in a deadly Rowan County fire which killed 81-year-old Lloyd Riddle. Police arrested a minor who is facing charges for first-degree arson and murder. Kentucky State Police announced the arrest last night. That person's identity is not being released, and Kentucky State Police have not confirmed if that suspect knew of or was related to the victim. We know that at least 4 people were inside the home on Jackson Cemetery Road during that fire, but 3 people were able to get out. Riddle did not. The Rowan County coroner says Riddle's body was sent to the state medical examiner's office in Frankfort for an autopsy. An official cause of death will be released after that autopsy is finished. There is growing concern in southern Kentucky that hospital surges and doctors and nurses being overwhelmed will happen again in early 2022. That's where vaccination rates are low and cases are starting to increase again. As WYMT's Phil Pendleton explains from Whitley County, doctors are worried about what the new year will bring.
The patient load at Baptist Health Corbin is stable right now, if that's even the right word to describe things during a pandemic.
Currently, we're around 20. We're between 15 and 20 COVID patients a day. We are seeing less of them requiring ICU care.
Earlier this year, the hospital was surging with more than 70 patients a day. With the new variant's impact yet to be seen, doctors are fearing the worst.
Dramatically more worried about what's going to happen here.
He says he's predicting a January surge with a broad-based peak.
So Delta was kind of up and down real quick. This one looks more like it's going to go up and then stay up and last a little longer.
But the Whitley County Health Department reported yesterday 15 new COVID-19 cases, 125 total that are active. They say that about 41.9% of the entire county has been vaccinated. Laurel County reported more than 200 cases last week and has also had low vaccination rates.
Rather discouraging.
Dr. Worthy says a booster shot will be the big difference with the new variant.
But the booster really dramatically improves that. So it's somewhere 55–60% effective.
He says that's the message they are going to be doubling down on for their staff and their community. In Whitley County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Dr. Worthy also says he does not believe some treatments such as monoclonal antibodies are going to be as effective with the Omicron variant.
Well, we saw a warm front move through the mountains earlier today, and what that means for us now is that we brought warmer conditions back to the mountains as we went through the daytime hours today. They'll stick with us through the overnight and even into tomorrow and Christmas Day, which looks to be on the warm side. Outside right now, you see our camera from I-64 at Moorhead giving us an indication we actually have a pretty nice sunset out there. Let's take you to Buffalo Mountain. You can see it for yourself. Not too bad here at Perry County as that sun sets, lighting up the underside of some of those high clouds out there. Mid-50s right now, and that's where our warmest spots are, in the mid-50s as you head down into the Cumberland Valley. We're in the upper 40s already into the Big Sandy, where they had a few more clouds today, keeping things a little bit cooler. That's still 10 to 15 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. Satellite and radar keeping those clouds around, especially in the Big Sandy today, and we'll continue to see the potential for those clouds moving in during the overnight hours. So keep that WYMT weather app handy. We're cooling off, but not quite enough. We're still down into the 40s as we head through the night tonight. I'll have the latest on a warm holiday weekend coming up in just a bit. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. A buildup of tens of thousands of Russia troops along Ukraine's border is fanning fears of a possible Russian military invasion in the coming weeks. The Biden administration says the U.S. and allies are preparing to react quickly to Russian aggression, while Russia's President Vladimir Putin is blaming the West for rising tensions. CBS's Natalie Brand reports from Washington.
The United States reiterated warnings of serious consequences, including possible coordinated sanctions with allies should Russia invade neighboring Ukraine.
We are prepared to issue sanctions like you've not seen before.
The U.S. is also promising more assistance to Ukraine's military if Russia attacks. This video shows Ukrainian forces testing a U.S.-supplied missile system this week. The number of Russian troops has surged to roughly 100,000 along the border, further fanning tensions.
Administration officials believe Russia has not yet made a decision about whether to invade. The Russian president said any action it takes would be, quote, retaliatory, and has called NATO and the West aggressors.
The only aggression we're seeing at the border of Russia and Ukraine is the military buildup by the Russians and the bellicose rhetoric from the leader of Russia.
During a lengthy news conference, Mr. Putin repeatedly called for NATO not to expand or deploy weapons to Ukraine. He also welcomed plans for diplomatic dialogue with the U.S. as soon as next month.
We are working towards diplomatic talks. There have been proposals put forward by the Russians. Some we would agree with, some we certainly wouldn't agree with.
Russian President Putin said those talks will take place in Geneva, but the U.S. stresses there is no agreement on a specific time or place. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Washington.
Today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken discussed concerns over Russia's military buildup along the Ukrainian border with NATO's Secretary General. A statement describing the call added, quote, "The alliance remains ready for meaningful dialogue with Russia while standing united to defend and protect allies." Well, whipping through some of the lines at Disneyland is going to cost you even more now. The California theme park has increased the Lightning Lane Pass from $7 to $18 for the Web Slingers and Radiator Springs Racers rides. That's a 157% price increase. Web Slingers is the Spider-Man themed ride in the new Avengers campus at Disney California Adventure. Radiator Springs Racers is a driving ride in Cars Land at the same park. After collecting goods for Western Kentucky storm victims, the Cynthiana Fire Department traveled to Mayfield yesterday. The department put out a Facebook post asking for donations, and within 24 hours, they had more than 6,000 views and people reaching out to donate immediately. They raised more than $2,000 in cash donations, allowing them to send 3 trailer loads of materials to Mayfield.
The community support was excellent. We've got a great community. It's small. Most of the people have really big hearts.
The department is hoping in the new year they can go back to Western Kentucky to bring more supplies as needed. Here's a survival story 9 days after a tornado demolished a 3-story office building in downtown Mayfield. An office cat has been rescued. Sonny Gibson was standing in the rubble when he thought he heard a faint meow on Sunday. He says he thought his mind was playing tricks on him, but called out for Maddox anyway. And he says that time he certainly heard a meow. Other than being very hungry and thirsty, Maddox was just fine. Gibson said he took Maddox home where he will live out the rest of his days as a house cat. A time capsule in Richmond, Virginia was finally opened yesterday after several hours were spent trying to pry it open. The capsule was placed in the base of the controversial Robert E. Lee statue. Crews uncovered it while working to remove the pedestal where the statue stood until its removal in September. Inside the capsule were 3 books, including an almanac from 1875, a cloth envelope, a pamphlet, and a silver coin.
I think it's part of the mystery of maybe the lost cause. What were they thinking back then? There were no open buy dates prior to the 1920s, 1930s. They put these time capsules in with the expectation that they would last in perpetuity. So it's like, well, why would they do that?
Virginia Governor Ralph Northam said it's an important day for the history of Richmond and Virginia. The governor's office announced plans to replace the time capsule and called on residents to submit objects that, quote, honor the Virginia of today. The Grammy Award-winning band Coldplay is planning to release its final album in 2025. Frontman Chris Martin announced the news on BBC Radio 2 this week. He says Coldplay will continue to tour and maybe collaborate with other artists. Coldplay released their first album, Parachutes, in 2000. Since then, they put out 9 studio albums. This announcement comes as Coldplay embarks on its first tour in years. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, the James Webb Telescope will be the biggest and most expensive science instrument ever sent into space. And scientists are hoping it will help answer some of our most pressing questions about the universe.
Things are getting mild and staying that way as Santa prepares to make his rounds. I'll have the very latest on how warm things get for Christmas on the way.
WYMT News.